You're listening to Broncos for Breakfast with Nick Kendell and Scott Kennedy. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com for all things Broncos. Good morning, Broncos country.
Alrighty, we are live. We're still waiting on our friends over in the Mile High Huddle Sports Illustrated Facebook group. And there's that fifth check.
Is Nebraska basically Denver Broncos country? Because we get a lot of Huskers.
Yes.
Yeah, sitting right there next to Colorado. Anything, or is it kind of split between Kansas City? Possibly, is that like your number? The biggest competition?
I would assume so. Just given the proximity of them. Also, you have the Wyoming's also a lot of Broncos country. Utah, a lot of Broncos country as well. Montana also, and I grew up in Packers, Vikings, Bears country in East Iowa.
If you did it by area, if you did an area map, Broncos country would be like the biggest in the country.
It is. It
only covers like 14 people, but it's got more acreage than anybody.
Yes, no, absolutely. When they show those maps, Broncos country taking up a lot of the plains there. But we are live. Happy Tuesday morning. Today is May 25th, and you guys are joining us for Broncos for Breakfast. We are going to be coming at you Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 o'clock Mountain Time, and it's going to be myself, Nick Kendell, along with Scott Kennedy. Scott, how are you doing today? Good morning.
I'm doing good. I kind of forget what day it is sometimes. If it weren't for Broncos for Breakfast, I'm not sure I'd know what day it is. So this is good to have on my calendar.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've been having a lot of fun doing it. Obviously, we're getting further and further away from the draft, but that's the beauty about football. It's a 365-day-a-year calendar, which is a lot of fun. But guys, once again, this is Broncos for Breakfast. Make sure you follow us at Mile High Huddle. That's the mothership. Also, make sure you follow, go to huddleuppod.com, get your swag on, and go to Facebook, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. If you're joining us on YouTube today, please subscribe, like, and share. That helps us a heck of a lot. That's probably the number one thing you can do outside of the super chats, which are obviously always helpful. But if you can do that, that would be a heck of a lot of help. Also, we have Scott's, Chad is always messing with the thing. I want to drop in the comment section here, Scott's YouTube page. And if John can find the banner for Scott's YouTube page, that would be helpful as well. But dropping that in the banner there, and you can follow myself on Twitter at Nick Kendell, MHH, and Scott at Scout Kennedy, MHH. John was too quick. He's too good. And then you can follow Scott's YouTube page at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. And I also dropped it in the comments there. You guys can click on that. Make sure you subscribe to Scott's channel. He has a lot of good content there. And let's say hello to everybody in here. We got Ashton coming in here. Good morning. Beast, do you ever sleep? Beast, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I'll know if you sleep in the bed. Nope, he does not sleep. Yeah, he said insomnia is the real beast. So there you go. We got Ashton coming in again and saying, hoping Nick, a quality Tuesday. Also, Scott needs a quality Tuesday too. A long day for the scientist. Yeah, it's Tuesdays are a long day. 2 shows and going to work, but I signed up for it, so that's what we're here for. Got Brent coming in. Good morning, everyone, and Beast. JD coming in. Good morning, Broncos family, and Scott ready for a big bowl of Broncos. Not sure what
we're gonna have to mock up a box of Broncos. I think that we can pour our bowl of Broncos for breakfast. I think that needs to be done. That's a good idea, JD.
I need a coffee mug. That'd be the way to go. Dave Glassman coming in here. Good morning, Broncos country. JD also shouting at the beast. We got Husker or Husky Hardcore. Maybe that's Husker or something. Let us know in the comments there. But good morning.
That felt Nebraska-ish to me.
Yeah, me too.
That felt Husker, not Husky to me. But yeah, maybe he can clarify.
I'm in Husky country, I guess. So that's where my brain goes. Shout out from Mike Carter. EJ's in the house. JD saying, Nick, you need to check out some of the national parks Utah has to offer. I need to. I really do need to. You're right. The beautiful area. I have not been to Utah, so hopefully we'll get there. Michael's in the house. Good morning. We got Jedi the Hut in here, or the Jedi's Hut. Hey guys, what's up? And Anthony Cordova. Good morning, Broncos. Broncos brunch must be a little later there. Go Broncos. And let's open it up out of the gate here. Jedi's Hut. We obviously going to get to the Broncos OTAs, but Rodgers is a hot button right now for the Broncos and the NFL in general. And we heard Rodgers yesterday on ESPN talking about loyalty and culture and just everything going on in the Packers organization. While he must have done it from Hawaii. Looks like he's having a great time down in Hawaii, lucky dog, while his teammates grind it out in OTAs in Green Bay.
That's a lot closer to Denver, though.
Yeah.
That's almost a direct right there. He's got to take a couple of stops to get back to Green Bay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's he's a ways off from Green Bay, but Jedi coming in here. What are your guys' thoughts on Rodgers' comments? Did you see Rodgers' comments yesterday?
I saw some of it. The part where it's about it's him sticking up for, and we don't know exactly what a lot of the turmoil is. It can't be just about money. He's well paid.
Yeah.
This could be about some of his teammates. For all we know, the way it was talking was, who's got more leverage than the quarterback. So, he might be leveraging for one of his teammates, for the best we can tell, where, you get tired of people over your head pulling all the strings where you don't feel like you have any say in it. And it's a brutal business in that way, where these guys are out there, breaking bones, literally putting life and limb out on danger. And then they're treated like, commodities. And when you've got, pardon the language, but, when you've got FU money like Aaron Rodgers does, he can say those type of things and maybe advocate for change a little bit and maybe get somebody a better deal. That's what it sounded like to me. At the end of the day, I just think it's going to be hard to get him out of Green Bay. We'll see, obviously, but it almost sounded to me like more about his teammates than him. Because what does he need? Seriously, what does he need that he doesn't have?
Yeah, I think it's a power play through and through. Maybe he wants to get out of there, but I think in Green Bay especially, he does not feel in the loop as far as the personnel decisions and the direction of the team. And he sees somebody like, Tom Brady, the Buccaneers go out there and, they go out there, they bring in Rob Gronkowski, they bring in Antonio Brown to an already stacked offensive team. I mean, just that's the reality of it. They trade up for a future Hall of Fame tackle and Tristan Wirfs. So go Hawks. So it's all that stuff. And Aaron Rodgers, see the Packers year after year. I mean, the biggest splashes they've made in free agency in the market is they signed Zadarius Smith that one off season and Preston Smith. But other than that, I mean, they're pretty lukewarm when it comes to making moves. And I think Rodgers understands that this is probably the back, not even the back nine of his career, the back three of his career. And he only has been to 2 Super Bowls. He's only won one. I believe he's been to 2. I think he lost one also. Can't remember off the top of my head, but he has only won 1 Super Bowl, and he sees around the league all these other teams doing things to go in on their quarterback, and the Packers just kind of are a little bit. They just come off a little bit complacent to me. They're very safe.
My question on this, you never get the feeling that people want out of Green Bay because they're not being taken care of. They're right at the salary cap. They're right there.
Yeah.
They're $3 million under, so they can make some maneuvers and stuff. And a big part of that is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
When you've got a $40 million cap hit. You've got to take a discount at some point if you want to be surrounded by other players. So it's like, listen, if you want to bring in this guy, we got to restructure your contract and knock $5 million off your deal, or however we're going to do that. And I don't know how much of that's been going on, but it's not like they're not spending money. And I don't know. Green Bay it's a tough place. I mean, it's a small market. There's only how many guys come out of there with a big Q rating. The quarterbacks, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. That's about it. How many other guys are like, an NFL quarterback? It doesn't matter where you play. You're going to be a high profile guy.
Reggie White.
White. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Hall of Famer. There's more. Trust. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it's not necessarily a big draw compared to, many other metropolitan areas. So. Yeah. What are the and I'd be interested. What's Green Bay doing wrong? What are they doing that's so bad that would cause this type of rift? Because it's not like this is a baseball team who's just spending $50 million while the Yankees are spending $300 million. I mean, there's a cap, and they're at it.
Yeah. Well, there's a anecdote or a story where Rodgers went out of his way to praise somebody, and then 2 days later, the Green Bay Packers released that player. So just kind of stuff like that, where he just does not feel in the loop. He does not feel respected. And I mean, I guess the catalyst for that, or maybe even the final, bell toll, was Jordan Love, right? The Packers, you have a first round pick there. That's a investment. They good wide receiver draft that year. And Rodgers feels, okay, they're going to go out and get me a wide receiver, somebody to help me. Jordan Love does not help me. And I think from an organizational standpoint, obviously Rodgers was coming off a couple down seasons, injured and whatnot. He talked about that yesterday too, where me playing as good as I did last year, Rodgers saying that, kind of threw off their plan. So he feels disrespected and not part of the loop. And obviously, if he had his way or was part of the decision making for that first round pick, it wouldn't be Jordan Love. So it's just kind of those things. And I think it's kind of seeing some trickle over across sports here.
Yeah,
we saw this 10 years ago.
Don't get me wrong
James.
on this, Nick. I'm absolutely pro player. You'll hear it in my voice and my tone all the time about the ridiculous contracts that these guys have, about the unholy coalition between the NCAA and the NFL, all of it. This is a monopoly, and it's un-American what we do to our athletes, and especially in football. They're well paid, they're well compensated, but there's no choice. Yeah. There's no, freedom of movement. There's you're going to do it this way. You are told what to do. You're well compensated for it, but there's really no choice. I almost don't even consider them team players anymore. As much international soccer as I watch and the way that the guys move around to different clubs, I think of them as NFL players. It's like, I see this guy. It's like, he's not an Atlanta Falcon. He's an NFL player. Yeah. And he's being assigned by NFL to go and play for this team. It's you're working for one giant corporation, and you just go to different branches. And it's a cynical way to look at things, but it's not just because I'm cynical about it doesn't mean I'm wrong. There's a reason why I'm cynical about it.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong, I'm pro player, but what I'm interested in what would tilt the dynamic of this, because they all know what they're getting into, and he's as well compensated as anybody in the game, in sports. Yeah. So what's the problem?
Yeah. Well, hopefully the problem leads to Aaron Rodgers wearing an orange jersey when it's all said and done. But, we'll see. And we got Albert Knoppers coming in here across the pond in the Netherlands saying A-Rod is a great QB, but also a diva. We don't need that type of poison on our team. And Albert, I hear what you're saying here, but we'll let you in on a little secret here. You know who else was a diva quarterback?
All of them.
John Elway. You know who else was a diva quarterback? Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning, he knows how to turn it on and off. But make no mistake, Peyton Manning was not beloved by everybody in that Broncos locker room, and not always the easiest guy to work with. I mean, look at Michael. Did you watch the Michael Jordan documentary, the Bulls documentary this offseason, Last Dance?
I didn't, just because I lived it and just I didn't want to look behind the curtain.
Yeah.
I like the nostalgia and the mystery behind it and everything they did that I didn't watch it. I didn't need to see behind the curtain. I was, when Michael Jordan was drafted, was he 83? I was 10 years old when he was drafted. So, I grew up Michael Jordan. And I didn't need to see behind the curtain there, but it's familiar. If you're pushing guys harder than they want to be pushed and you're expecting them to work as hard as you do, you're going to make enemies. I've said it about myself a lot of times. Like, people that do their jobs love me. The ones that don't, they usually have bad things to say about me. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the same thing with Peyton Manning, and same thing with John Elway as well. And Michael Jordan, sometimes Kobe Bryant. Some people just to be fair,
tenacity. Kobe Bryant was much more selfish than a lot of these other guys. Kobe was a lot about Kobe. You got guys that come in for the first time and you challenge them to a one-on-one just so he can measure, see who's what I'm saying there. But it's Kobe would have been a fantastic tennis player. I'm not as big a fan of his basketball game just because he was so selfish.
Yeah. But fun to watch. I'll take that.
I disagree. I hated watching him.
Oh, man.
I literally did not like watching Kobe Bryant play basketball because we're talking about a 40% shooter in the playoffs. May he rest in peace, but I called him a glorified ball hog for his career. Go look at his playoff numbers, and he's missed more than everybody. Kobe was about Kobe, and if he wasn't with the Lakers, who collect championships for everybody, then his legacy isn't what it is, and he's not in the conversation of the greatest players of all this and that. I mean, he was not a. I always the line I used about him was, if you watched Field of Dreams, and you remember when Julius Joe Jackson says at the time, he goes, you couldn't believe the guys that wanted to come here. Ty Cobb wanted to come here, but nobody could stand the son of a bitch. Was he alive? So we told him to stick it. I'm like, that's going to be Kobe Bryant. When they do a Court of Dreams, Kobe's not going to be in it because they're going to say that we didn't want to play with him. So anyway, that was my take on Kobe. Again, it's been a little over a year. Rest in peace, Kobe. It has nothing to do with you as a person, but as a basketball player, I was not a fan, and that's okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Ty Tidwell, Broncos talk. Kobe, Ty, it's the off season. We're having fun. It's loose. It's fun. We're gonna let the flow happen here. But I wanted to get to Anthony Cordova, who over on Facebook, who chimes in often. We appreciate you, Anthony, saying, I loved the interview with Locke yesterday. Slimmed down, knows what he has to do, and really focused. I hope it translates to the field for him. The ball seems to zip out his hand way more than Teddy checked down. And best case scenario for the Broncos and this organization in general, it clicks for Drew Lock because he has the arm talent. He says all the right things. But he struggled last year. It is what it is. That's a fact. And interview is great. He said all the right things again, and he does seem to be a little bit less jovial, from what I picked up. A little less happy-go-lucky, which that's great. I mean, the rapping and the dancing is fun until you're throwing pick sixes and a bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL. Then it gets real tired. So good. And he says, I'm hoping to turn a lot of people. To shut them up, and I've heard what they've said, and hopefully they will say other things later. That'd be great. That'd be awesome. Because right now we're just evaluating the product on the field, and the product on the field has been subpar.
Well, and you like the reaction, flat out. You like the reaction. A lot of these guys could take their millions. Drew Lock's going to make more money on one contract than I'll make in my entire life. He's set. A lot of them will take that, and they fold. So to me, it shows. I like to see the fight in it, and so will his teammates. Yeah. Now, he still has to produce, but the mentality so far is good, and that's a good sign. I think that's a good sign. And I don't necessarily not to pick on. I'm not sure who said Teddy checked down on us. Not to pick on you on this, but I see it so much. You don't have to put down one guy to favor the other. You want the Broncos to succeed, and I see so much of this. It's so much about player versus player, as opposed to best man for the job. I don't care. I root for both of them. May the best man win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, and it will be interesting. And there was a few interviews yesterday we'll get into. Obviously, Drew Lock talking about turning out the noise. People texting him about, did you hear the Broncos are interested in this player or that player? And he said they're not in his inner circle, so that's good. He's been working. Obviously, and for those that were at OTAs, you can see the ball pops out of his hand much better than Teddy Bridgewater. But Teddy Bridgewater is going in through his reads left to right, making full field reads, throwing the ball down the field more. And I think I said it last Thursday, talking about Drew Lock at one of the highest yards per attempt in the NFL last year. I hope he doesn't just do a complete 180 and is throwing the ball, it becomes this check down Charlie. He sees that first read is maybe not there and then just immediately goes to the check down. And that doesn't mean the check down does not always mean open two guys. I mean, that's if you're throwing it short, it better damn well not be covered by two guys in the flat. So something to watch there. And Vic Fangio did say, importantly, I know we're reacting to 7-on-7s here, first day of OTAs, but he said that, we're going to be weeks off until we see the 11-on-11s when this battle really starts to, open up and we get an idea of who is in the lead.
Well, and Teddy's never been aesthetically pleasing. Never. He's effective. And that's what you want. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. One of mine as close to home is my son. He's a hell of an athlete, but he's goofy looking. He doesn't do anything pretty except swing a bat left-handed. But if you run him out there, he's going to get the job done. And Teddy's like that. Like I've told we've been on here before talking about, when he was coming through high school and one of the regional scouts giving me help because I like Teddy Bridgewater so much. He's like, why? What about this guy? Oh, Kennedy's boy Bridgewater. I'm like, yeah, Kennedy's boy Bridgewater ended up being pretty damn good, didn't he? Because he gets the job done. I'm like, forget what you see in these drop back passing drills, these quarterback camp stuff. Put 2 minutes on the clock, give him the football and go 4 wide and let him go. And you're going to like what you see. Drew Lock, we talked about it last week, 24 years old. He's got a lot of football ahead of him.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to happen right now. That's what Teddy brings for you. That there's still time, obviously, with the contract situation that could change a little bit. But, I like the situation, the quarterback situation that I'm seeing coming out of OTAs. I really appreciate the mentality. And one of the quotes I say, sorry to monologue on this, Nick.
You're fine.
One of the quotes I saw from that I was watching when Teddy was talking yesterday was, I'm here to make this a better team, saying all the right things. But one of the things that kind of slipped in there was, hopefully better men. He's like, hopefully I can make these guys better football players and maybe better men. That takes balls to be able to say something like that. But Teddy does it without a hint of arrogance. He's genuine. And that's what's so amazing about Teddy Bridgewater, the person. And having him on your team is just going to make your team better. One way or another, it's going to make your team better.
Yeah, and we got Ty coming back in here saying, why hasn't Teddy been a long-term quarterback anywhere? And this is a good question, Ty, but unfortunately, I think the easy answer here is injury. He suffered a catastrophic injury that really derailed his career there for a bit, and it took him 2 to 3 years to really get back on track. So you saw him go, and he had a really good 7-game stretch 2 years ago with the Saints where he kind of looked like he was back on track. Now, granted, that Saints team had Michael Thomas, one of the best offensive lines in football, Alvin Kamara, Sean Payton drawing it up, and he did not look the same last year with Carolina. I mean, Carolina ate a bunch of money and only took a 6th-round pick to get rid of Teddy Bridgewater. Now, part of that was a hat tip to Teddy, doing him a favor because Teddy Bridgewater is known as one of the most likable and hardworking good guys in the league. But still, so this is a good question. Do you have any answers, Scott, besides the injury? Why hasn't Teddy failed to launch?
That's it for one. And for two, once you get moved, you become the guy that gets moved.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next one out the door, I don't think the Broncos see Teddy as a long-term solution.
No.
He's brought in now as the guy, the stable horse, so to speak. Can he be the guy? So once you get moved, I mean, how many teams has Kirk Cousins played for now? He's a good quarterback, but he moves around. Quarterbacks, once they stay put, they're hard to dislodge. But once you get moved, they're going to play for 10 teams. That's just the way it is. And the reason why he's not still a Minnesota Viking is because he damn near ended up in a wheelchair.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there was talk of him never playing again, right? That was the level of injury that he suffered. So the fact that he's even able to play right now is a testament to his work to get back out there. But that's probably the biggest reason. Also, I mean, we'll talk about it. Teddy is lacking in a lot of departments on the football field. He just doesn't have a lot of the God-given gifts. There's a reason that a lot of Scott's scout buddies in the recruiting ranks was giving Scott a hard time. It's because he's not pretty, right? Somebody was saying, you said earlier, he's not aesthetically pleasing. Somebody earlier, I think it was CC, saying that Teddy looked good in orange. But as on the field, he has good footwork. That's there. He's okay in the pocket. That's fine. But the ball does not pop out of his hand. And he's not this big, he's not out there running around like Cam Newton, this big, sturdy son of a gun. So,
and once he loses some of his athleticism, it's taking away one of his bigger assets. He's not a run first QB, but he ran to pass. His mobility was good, and his elusiveness was really good. And if that takes a hit, everything else where you have shortcomings starts to become exacerbated a little bit. But like I said, once with that injury, your answer is right there, the injury. Otherwise, he'd still be the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, I'm convinced.
Yep. So we'll see. But I enjoyed the comments from Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. We should probably pivot now to we also had Von Miller talking, and he went out of his way to praise Teddy Bridgewater, which I thought was interesting considering this was the first time Teddy has met these guys. So that is, I think, noteworthy. I mean, Von Miller, he's a great teammate, and you enjoy him in the interview. He's kind of always a happy-go-lucky kind of guy, but he also will heap praise on guys when it is not totally warranted, right? Like he is the internal optimist when it comes to the media sessions with the interviews. So not asking him to be critical. I would not put too much weight on it, but I thought it was interesting that he went out of his way to praise Teddy Bridgewater, excited to play with Teddy. And also I thought it was interesting. He said that, not a direct quote, but quote, Noah Fant is my favorite guy on this team. So I think he's expecting Noah Fant to have a big breakout season. Year 3 for the tight end. Noah Fant has people give Noah Fant kind of a hard time his rookie season about injured and came to practice a little bit out of shape, although there might have been some food poisoning there. I'm not sure. But he's dealt with some injuries the last 2 years, which have somewhat dinged him. But this year 3 for Noah Fant, which typically year 3 for a tight end is when they really break out. I'm expecting a big season from Noah Fant. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he is a top 5 tight end by the end of the season. He's got that level of talent.
That's a bold statement.
Yes.
We talked about a lot of this is when we did last week, our show, our breakout guys, sleeper picks, dark horse candidates I did all receivers because I started with Drew Lock. If Drew Lock takes that step up, there's a trickle-down effect where all the receivers improve too. You got a couple guys coming back from injury, which is going to reset the receiving order. and everybody's going to get better that way. So much of this is relying on elevated quarterback play that Noah Fant could be that. And frankly, it's not that hard. It's about 700 yards is the number 5 tight end in the NFL. That's not a ton. I mean, that's not a ton. So, when I looked at, Kyle Pitts was the number 4 tight end in Pro Football Focus or someone's rankings. The number 4 tight end had 775 yards. If Julio Jones is gone and Kyle Pitts doesn't get 775 yards, that's going to be a disappointment for the world's greatest tight end of all time prospect. So top 5, it sounds like a bold statement, but it's not crazy. There aren't a lot of teams that really, really use the tight end.
Yeah, like tight end 4 through 12 is pretty interchangeable. 4 through 8, 4 through 12. And we got Peter Middleton saying, certainly seems like we chose the right tight end in that draft. I think in a vacuum, if you could pick either one, I probably would still lean TJ Hawkinson. He's really good, but you're talking about TJ Hawkinson went 8 overall and Noah Fant went 20. And I'd rather have Noah Fant at 20 than TJ Hawkinson at 8. But both very good tight ends, both right in there for that. Obviously, they're not touching George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Darren Waller this season, in my opinion. But 4 through 10, up for grabs. Those guys are all viable options. Kyle Pitts, you mentioned. Dallas Goedert from Philly is another guy who could take that mantle this year. So I think Pro Football Focus had Zach Ertz 5th. The sun is setting on Zach Ertz's career. I would not put Zach Ertz in the top 5. But, we'll see. Tight end is a position. We've kind of talked about it on here where there's just a lot of okay guys.
Let's hit Jason real quick. Jason says, I personally think that will start to change the next few years. I can see 10 700-yard tight ends instead of 3 to 5. I think I agree with you for a couple of reasons. One, not the least of which is, one leads to the other. We've said before, every rule in the last 10 years has gone to help the passing game. Just about everyone. So I used to say that all the tight ends were always from the Midwest or the West Coast coming out of high school. Because if you were big and fast, you played defensive end in high school in the South, flat out. If you were if you were a jumbo athlete, you put your hand in the ground and you went and got the quarterback. That's not happening all the time anymore. Because why would you want to go play defense when they don't let you play defense anymore? All the rules are geared towards receivers. So you're seeing some of these jumbo athletes make the transition and staying on offense coming out of the South, where if you go Texas over to Florida, half of all college signees come out of the deep South if you include Texas. That's a philosophical change in the last 5 years that is going to pay dividends. So as the rules have changed, the athletes are moving over. You're going to see much more Kyle Pitts type of athletes playing the tight end position. So I agree with you because of several reasons. It's a good comment.
Are there? I want to dig into that just a little bit more, just for my own interest here. Sorry, guys, we're right along with us. But are there any positions that you see some give and take going on these next few seasons outside of quarterback, where the guys that are typically being funneled to some position are now going elsewhere? Because I feel like there's never enough cornerbacks.
I was going to say it's corners, the defensive backs. It was hard to find corners anyway, because everybody wants to be a receiver. They're the ones catching the touchdowns. That's the fun position. Cornerback's the hard one. Finding corners and defensive tackles are the 2 hardest positions to find. So corners is going to be, more and more. They're going to be more difficult to find than ever because everybody's playing wide receiver. So that's the big one for me.
Man, if I was a coach or recruiting, I'd be moving guys to cornerback like crazy, because that's a lot of money there. A lot of money to be had if you can be a good cornerback.
6 foot, and I say the same thing about basketball players. 6'5" basketball players, they're a dime a dozen. 6'5" receivers, they're pretty special. It's like, son, you're not a small forward. You're not going to make any money as a small forward playing, at 6'5". Let me go get you a scholarship. Just come over here and catch a couple footballs for me. So yeah, and a 6 foot wide receiver, how many of those are there? There's a zillion. How many of them make it? 10 that are truly like really, really good. It's tough. 6 foot corners. Yeah. Now we're talking. If you can move, if you get a 6 foot corner is considered a plus size corner. They're usually, 5'10" So if you get a 6'2" guy like Patrick Surtain, you take him 9th overall. So, and I see the word, speaking of talking about OTAs, the early returns about Surtain have been pretty solid too.
Yeah, that's the other guy that Von Miller went out of his way to praise, saying Kyle Fuller wasn't there. Don't think we know the reason why. It might just be a vet taking a day because it is optional. But we'll probably see him here pretty soon. But Von Miller also went out of his way to praise Surtain, and I'm excited about this Broncos defensive backfield. I do think they are deeper than what even that 2015 no-fly zone was. Doesn't mean they're going to be better because you don't have 3-man cornerbacks with 2 of them being in their prime. But also, I don't think the pass rush is as good as that 2015 defense, and there's a positive feedback loop for pass rush to coverage to pass rush. But still, we got Big E Bronco coming in talking about Teddy Bridgewater, saying I think he's responding to this comment here from Aaron P. saying 5-0 for the Saints as a starter, led the Vikings to the playoffs. And then Big E Bronco says, yeah, for the Vikings, and he couldn't even beat Case Keenum. I think your timeline's off there, Big E. Case Keenum only was given that shot because Teddy went down. Teddy got injured. Vikings traded for Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford starter there that next season, I believe, as well, and then went down with injury. Then Case Keenum took over. So I think your timeline's off there. I don't even think either Teddy was on IR or not on the Vikings anymore when Chase Keenum. I see now he said when Keenum took over for the Vikings.
Yeah, and I'm not making any type of judgments on Teddy Bridgewater within 24 months of his injury.
Yeah,
It's a different guy. Like you said, he's lucky that he's not lucky. He's worked his ass off to get back to a place where he can play. Now, back with Von Miller.
Yeah.
32 years old.
Going to be 33. Yeah.
Speed rusher type. He's got good size, but we're talking about a guy who beats a lot of people. And I liked his, speaking of quotes, what's going on. He says, I'm back out there beating everybody's ass. I like that. But what are the expectations for him this year? I went and looked up some of the all-time best rushers that fit his profile, sack guys. And it's not pretty after 32 years old. It's not. For Broncos fans, who the best one was that I found? 32 plus? DeMarcus Ware, Denver Broncos. So what are the type of expectations that we have for Von Miller coming off an injury at 32 years old for this defense?
It's definitely a cop-out. I think he's still going to be a good player, but a lot of it is going to depend on if this Broncos offense is anything but bottom 5, which they have been for the last 5 years. The Broncos have not been in a situation where they can be super aggressive with the pass rush to get after the quarterback because they're never playing with a lead and making opposing offenses play a little bit more aggressively, a little bit more recklessly to try to get back in. So if this Broncos team can play with a lead at all, and I know it seems so silly and stupid, but it is silly and stupid. Play with a lead. It's easier to get after the quarterback. And that just hasn't been the case. Also, protecting the football is a big one. If you give the other team short fields, you're going to have less opportunities to get after the quarterback. So that's another one that's really hurt them. But I think Von Miller will look good this year. I'm not anybody expecting, 2015 Von Miller is, pie in the sky. I guess it could happen, but I would not bet on it. But he should be good this year. You make a good point. A lot of times when you're talking about edge rushers, there's the finesse, twitch, speed guys versus like the power, length, size guys. The finesse, twitch, speed guys historically do not age as well as the power, length, speed guys. I mean, that's just doesn't mean it's going to happen that way, but we're looking at historical precedent in data. So that's something I was talking about it this offseason as well. When we're talking about giving Von Miller's 5th option, it's like, well, maybe it might be time to start looking on because Von Miller's injury, the huge contract, and just the type of player he is. A lot of times those guys do not age as gracefully. I'm hoping that it's not the case for Von because he's a fun personality and one of my favorite players ever on the Broncos. We had the building the Broncos episode where he got injured. And I thought that was the end of Von Miller in Denver, and I was having a pretty hard time with it. Like literally, like I tried to put my fandom in a box, but some guys I do really like, and Von's one of them. But the reality is he's kind of on that wrong end, and he's in scary territory right now.
Well, and the good news is the defense can be better without having the best version of Von Miller. He won't have to be the 2015 Von Miller to be a really, really good defense. There's enough parts around him that he doesn't have to be that good. I mean, I don't mean it like that. You know what I'm trying to say.
He doesn't have to be the straw that stirs the drink.
Yeah, he can be not a bit player, but he can still be super effective without necessarily being his absolute best.
And we got Muhammad coming in with the first super chat of the day. Muhammad, shout out to you and your son Malik. Thank you very much for being supportive of the show here, and he has the pair with the sweatband coming in here saying shh and dropping the mic. So we appreciate Muhammad rocking the merch as well. One of the biggest supporters of the show, all the shows, but also Broncos for Breakfast. Muhammad, we appreciate the heck out of you. Thank you so much for that super chat. If you got any questions down here, please get at us. We also got Kyle Wielden in the house saying, good morning, guys. Excited to see this team hit the field. Looking forward to Vaughn and Chubb wrecking quarterbacks. And yeah, I mean, hopefully Chubb is healthy. Obviously, I don't think we've had a show since Chubb had the surgery to get the bone spurs removed. And you've heard me say it on here a few times. I think Chubb is the most valuable player on this team, but the injuries are concerning. So we'll see. Hopefully he's out there, and he's the guy that I'd be most hesitant to move for an Aaron Rodgers, because despite what the Broncos have done with undrafted free agent edge rushers, that is a massive outlier. I would not bank, the Broncos can just find another quality edge rusher as an undrafted free agent.
Sure.
Patriots can just find another 6th-round quarterback that goes on to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. That's like, okay, cool. I don't think that's going to happen, but whatever. But I'm really hoping we do see Vaughn and Chubb this year. And it's not just Vaughn and Chubb together. It's the depth that the Broncos have in the secondary. That combo together, if you can get guys who can get after the quarterback and you have depth in the secondary, that's the magic formula for defense, despite what some older folks might scream about the linebacker position. Linebackers are the running backs of the defense. You know, they're fine, but they don't have as much value as the cover guys and the pass rushers. So I'm really excited to see what Vaughn and Chubb can do this year. Just fingers crossed, man. Let's play with some leads. Let's not turn the ball over, and let's lean into that defense. You got to. You don't put them in a bad situation. Don't make it harder for them than it already has to be.
No, what the linebackers do is help cover deficiencies in the other areas. If you've got a great linebacking core, if you've got a great front four, then you don't need the linebackers. Mm-hmm. I'm exaggerating, so I hope you understand what I'm saying on that. You know, I'll say it a zillion times. Y'all end up putting it under my names. You know, the best defense in the world is a quarterback on his ass. Yep. You know, and that happens with your edge rushers. And if you can get a defensive tackle that can get pressure up the middle, there's a reason why those guys get paid so much money, and they're so hard to find. So yeah, I agree with you. But if you don't have those edge rushers, are hard to find. Yeah. So you know, if you don't have them, and you can the linebacker's going to be in almost an insurance policy. They can cover some of your deficiencies that you have in your front four. Yep,
absolutely. And we got Sykes coming in here. Sykes JB with a $10 super over on YouTube. Thank you very much, Sykes. We appreciate that. Keeping the lights on in here and keeping the show viable for Chad. So thank you so much, Sykes. We appreciate that. Late to the show. Would love your thoughts on the offensive coordinator, Pat Shurmur. Pat Shurmur. I think that he gets a somewhat of a bad rap because it is a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. Hall of Fame players make Hall of Fame coaches, and Pat Shurmur has not had a top 15 quarterback that he's been on the staff of since Donovan McNabb. That leaves off the top of my head. I can't think of another good quarterback since Donovan McNabb that Shurmur's worked with. So also you can look at just a smaller sample size, what guys that he's worked with and what they've done post working with Pat Shurmur. You got Case Keenum, best year of his career with Pat Shurmur. Goes off away from Pat Shurmur and looks like a backup at best. Daniel Jones had his better years under Pat Shurmur. Didn't look as good last season. So that's another one. So I think Pat Shurmur does get a bad rap. I do wish that he would utilize the tight end a little bit more. I think his love of 11 personnel is a little rigid, right? Like I'm biased because I'm a Hawkeye fan, but 12 personnel is my favorite because it manipulates the defense. It forces them to put another linebacker on the field. And if you can do that, then you're making them play potentially single high, or you're creating space outside the hash marks for the pass game. And if they're not, let's say the defense says, oh, you're playing 12 personnel, we're still going to put out 5 defensive backs, then you can run. Then you have a numbers advantage. So being able to throw out of 12 personnel is, I think, a strategic difference maker, and something that Shurmur does not do enough. And granted, there's way more good wide receivers than there are tight ends, so that might be part of it. Just in the league we're talking about earlier, how hard it is to find good tight ends after the top 3. But if you can run out of 12 personnel, you got a chance to do some pretty fun things in manipulating defenses personnel wise.
Well, and I look at the places he's been, and what I look at is geography, and I think bad weather, you better run the ball. You know, when you're talking about Philadelphia, Cleveland, even Minnesota to a certain extent. Now you're coming west. things get different when you cross the Mississippi when it comes to offense. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, we got Karaoke Chris coming in here, also dropped a super a little bit ago, saying maybe Shermer has figured out what he has for personnel and will scheme accordingly this year. We can only hope. I do think it's funny that there's a lot of, sick little bug going around excuses for Drew Lock, but you don't hear that for Pat Shermer, even though it was his first year on the job. He didn't know what his personnel was going to be. He had a young personnel as well. And you did see him change his scheme as the year went on. He had less full field reads. He had less shotgun stuff for Drew Lock, who struggled getting on beyond the first read. And you saw the offense, granted, against worse defenses down the stretch. That's an important factor. But you saw the offensive scheme change some emphases down the stretch. So I think that's a good point. Jeremy's saying also here, Jeremy, Mr. Kirk Cousins lookalike. Shermer works at the quarterback, runs his scheme, doesn't seem to adjust well to other people's strengths. Well, I thought Shermer actually did adjust down the stretch last year. So I think that's the one that I'm leaning into as well. So let's get that super up here from Karaoke Chris, if you would want. There we go. Another mic. All right. Well, we're going to be, is he dropping the mic there, or is he blasted into it? Cause he is Karaoke Chris. So thank you very much for the super, Karaoke Chris. We appreciate it. And he says, it, Buana. So appreciate that a lot. But I think we do want to get to Garrett Bowles' comments as well. He was the other player that had an interview yesterday, and Garrett Bowles had some pretty insightful comments, I would say, actually. He gets a hard time about his intelligence, which is, low bar, but is what it is. He's an offensive lineman. He doesn't have to be out there, solving equations as a janitor on the whiteboard, some of the Goodwill Hunting stuff. But he talked about Drew Lock and being in a position that Garrett Bowles was at a year ago, where he was very much under the microscope and kind of was becoming but there's a word for it, everybody's ire and disappointment and expectations.
Scapegoat.
Yeah, the scapegoat. I mean, some of it was valid, though. Some of it was earned. I feel like scapegoat has some unearned kind of meaning to it, but I would say some of it was earned both ways. But he was talking about Drew Lock is now in this position where, he's going to have to go out there and prove it this year to prove everyone wrong, just like he did last year. So that's interesting. I think that there's a lot of people in Broncos country that like to equate the quarterback position to the offensive tackle position, where it's not really a 1-for-1. The learning curve is different. Also, Garrett Bowles playing community college, 1 year of offensive tackle tape, 13 reps or 13 games for Utah versus Drew Lock, 50 games in the SEC. Not a 1-for-1, not the same, but that is one that I thought was at least interesting, and some awareness there from Bowles, understanding that the situation does mimic itself. It's not the same, but it is similar.
Well, and it's nice having someone that you can empathize with, and the best thing that any of these guys can do is just stay on social media. They don't need to build their brand. They're young. I don't know what possible good it could have for them to be on social media. It's only going to be bad. So getting off of there is a big step in the right direction, and knowing that, listen, I made it through this, you can too. Let's go get better is a good person to have, especially when you're going to spend as much time as they are together with a tackle and a quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see, but also other guys praising Teddy as well. So I think this, even if the Broncos, best case scenario, Broncos get Rodgers because, gosh, giddy up, we're going for a Lombardi. But I do think that this Teddy Bridgewater Drew Lock quarterback battle, while it's not ideal because you'd rather know who the guy is and go into the offseason focused on that guy being as good as he can. But this isn't Paxton Lynch versus Trevor Siemian versus Mark Sanchez of 2016. This is a much more viable quarterback battle. So that makes me excited about this team, and the storylines come from it. It's going to be much more enjoyable football to analyze and watch compared to that 2016.
Even if they have made a decision, which they probably haven't, they're certainly not going to give it away anytime soon. They want this to be an open competition, and they've said it. We might not make a decision until preseason games get started. So it's going to draw out. It's going to draw out, and even when they play, it's going to draw out unless someone comes in and throws 4 touchdowns. A game against 0 interceptions the first 4 games, then it will end. But the first sign of it, whoever starts the first game, they're going to be under the microscope. First sign of struggling. There's going to be a quarterback battle talk again. So this is going to go on a while. So when I said at the beginning of the show, I like the mentality that Drew Lock is having after facing adversity and having to hear all that stuff in the offseason. It's not going to stop. There's only one way it's going to stop. It's if he wins a position and plays lights out. Otherwise, it's going to keep going, and he's got to be able to fight through that.
Yeah, that's a good comment here. And Kenny coming in here, I want to solve this out. Chat, let us know as well. One of my favorite foods is the French fry. So versatile, so good. Can be paired with so many things. Kenny coming in saying, Buana gave me a hard time about how I eat my fries. Can you break the tie? Ketchup on top or on the side of fries? I prefer personally like the side. I don't need my hands to get messy. I'm not eating my fries with a fork. But guys, I'm an Iowan through and through. Ketchup with my fries? That's fine. That's fine. Ranch. I'm a ranch guy. Ranch is so good. I love myself.
Ranch is good with anything. I would definitely go side, but I tell you what, I always ate my burger over my fries.
Oh yes, the drips. Oh,
yeah, so any spillage went right to my fries. But you want to have more options to be able to pick up. If you put ketchup all over your fries, you've got limited options on what to do to pick them up. So you want the dip on the side. It's definitely side.
Absolutely. And we got some people saying they eat their fries with mayonnaise. Albert, a classic across the pond. You've seen Pulp Fiction, right?
If you go mayonnaise, if you do mayonnaise, if you go ranch, you'll never go back.
Yep. Ranch is so good, especially if it's like homemade house
you'll
ranch.
Never go back. That's a Southern thing. I'm surprised that went all the way up to Iowa.
Oh man, I would say it's a big Iowa thing. And Jeremy's saying ketchup on top of fries is for sociopaths. Corey H saying he eats his fries with mustard. That's an interesting one. Anthony saying ranch or queso with fries. You know what also is a delicacy with with ranch? Pizza. Dipping pizza in ranch. Oh.
All right. I'm going to say this one time, then we're going to be done. There's a zesty ranch, so it's got a little hint of spice in it. That I forgot who makes it, but zesty ranch all over my veggie pizza, and then we're good. Oh,
so good. I used to work at a restaurant, and they made wings and all the like, and they also had pizza. Like there was 2 different restaurants associated with it. But anyway, I would get my big thing of homemade ranch, put the buffalo sauce in it, and dip my pepperoni pizza in that buffalo ranch, and those were my fat days. But I'm not as heavy as I was back then. But man, I do miss the buffalo ranch pizza. So good. Oh my gosh. Reese's wife has got something going on here. My wife eats fries with ice cream.
Fries go with anything. I'm with Marco on this one though. Stay on point. Let's talk Broncos football. I don't mind a sidebar, but I don't want to.
Okay, Marco.
I don't want a vocal minority to overtake Broncos for breakfast. But it does have a food theme, right? Broncos for breakfast. You know,
that's absolutely
maybe.
More Garrett Bowles then. Let's get back on topic. We're sorry. We're just having a little fun. It is off season. We got to be able to have a little bit of fun in the off season, and the chat dictates it sometimes. People are having fun with it. But Garrett Bowles also, and I think this reflected Melvin Gordon's interview back in December, where he talked about how this offense is pretty much set up to succeed. It's just they got to get the ball to the playmakers, and that's something where it's not a direct shot at Drew Lock personally, but it is something where it's like, listen, read between the lines here, guys. Like this is a comment on the quarterback play about how they have struggled to get the ball to the players and the weaponry that this team does have. I don't think there's any other way to look at it.
Well, and the comment on that about getting them to the playmakers is it's going to help when all your playmakers are healthy. Something's a loss. That's a big loss.
Yes.
So again, everything gets better with the quarterback play elevates. The number one receiver comes back. Everything should improve this year, right? I mean, it should. So, I agree with it. You get a little bit more time, a little more familiarity with the system, a little more experience. Again, Drew Lock's a young quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater is going to come in, and I like your phrase that the floor in the room just got higher. So the quarterback play should improve. There's more playmakers available. This offense should get better, period.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And we got Reese Scott coming in with a long one here. So everybody lean up so that our beautiful faces are still on here. But Reese is a good commenter. We want to get to this. Reese says, it's not that I dislike Drew. It's all the Drew fan base that keeps talking about high ceilings and potential. Teddy is not flashy, but the dude is still solid. All the Drew comments that state that Drew's floor is higher than Teddy's ceiling are just not smart. Can they read QBR ratings? Drew's ceiling has only ever gotten even with Teddy's lowest rating. Teddy's best QBR with New Orleans was 99.1. Drew's best was 89.7. Same 2019 season with 5 games each. Teddy isn't flashy, but he can take the team to the, and I think he probably meant next level. It disappeared there. But I think that this is a team that's set up where the quarterback doesn't have to shoulder the entire load of running the team. You don't have to have the quarterback go out there and win the games. You have a good offense set up around, and the offensive line, I would say, is average. That's probably about I don't think it's going to be better than average, but I don't think it's going to be worse. And you hopefully see the interior offensive line take a step up, but the weaponry is really good. And this has an argument for the best defense in the NFL, personnel-wise. So quarterback doesn't have to win.
Drew Lock's 5 games in 2019 were his rookie season. Those were his first 5 games in the NFL. He went 4-1. The record was good. That's what you're at the end of the day. That's what you're looking for. I don't think that's a fair comparison. In 2019, I'd almost throw out what they're doing their rookie seasons. If they succeed, great. But there's not huge expectations on a rookie quarterback. That's why we're talking about the discussion about whether or not to draft Justin Fields, for the Broncos, for whoever passed on him. That's a rebuild. It's a signal for a rebuild when you're taking a quarterback at that stage. I think some teams were in the position that they needed to think about a rebuild. But I think we all agree that the Broncos aren't in that position right now.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good comment. And I think the biggest thing is, again, this team does not need a quarterback to go out there and be superhero. They just need them to not lose the games. And is that going to be enough to win you the AFC West with Patrick Mahomes? Probably not. But that's just the unfortunate reality of being in this division right now.
But you don't have to win the West. This is a second chance league. You just have to get hot at the right time in the playoffs. Go 10-7. You're going to get another shot. I'm not a huge fan of playoffs. I always said that playoffs are for people that couldn't get it done in the regular season. But that's the reality here. You don't have to win the division to win the Super Bowl. You can go 8-8 and win the Super Bowl, right? New York Giants. Oh, the home field advantage. I'll just go win all my games on the road if we get hot at the right time. So you don't have to go 14-3 to make a good run. Just be playing your best football at the right time.
No, absolutely. And we got Swink McLeod coming in here over on YouTube. Thank you very much, Swink, for the $5 super. And guys, if you are joining us on YouTube today, please subscribe, like, and share. Also, guys, if you're joining us on Facebook, please click those thumbs up. I can see not enough over here. It's hurting my feelings. My feelings are hurt this Tuesday morning. I need more coffee to get over it. Otherwise, I'm going to cry into my coffee. But Swink saying $5 super. You're not making me cry. I'm happy tears over here from Swink. Who has a better quarterback mind, Drew or Teddy? Well, I'm not working with each of them personally. Also, both of them have much better quarterback minds than I do. So really, who am I to say either way? But I think the obvious answer would be Teddy, given Drew is getting by right now on more just athletic tools, arm talent and whatnot. And Teddy is not making as many poor decisions out there as Drew Lock. And a lot of the statistics point to Drew Lock struggling with some of the mental aspects of the game, such as accuracy, be off the first read, turnover plays, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm going to say the way I'm going to answer this is I think Teddy Bridgewater is the more instinctive football player. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily like saying, using the phrase, smarter, dumber, or anything like that. That's not fair. Yeah. I just think that he's and here I call Jay Cutler the dumbest smart guy I ever scouted 100 times. But I think Teddy Bridgewater is the more instinctive football player. And I've seen it in multiple positions. He was a dynamite safety coming out when he was in high school. The kid's just pure football player. He's probably a 30-year-old man now. I call him a kid, but Teddy Bridgewater is he's an instinctive football player, and I think that's how I would answer that question. Yeah,
no, that's a good comment. And Peter Middleton coming in here saying, I'm a lot happier with him here. I'm sure he's talking about Teddy Bridgewater. At least there's decent competition for the quarterback position. And I think that is something as well that Drew Lock, he's always been, I don't want to say handed to him, but like going to Missouri, that's not a football powerhouse. He was a 4-star quarterback. I believe you'd know that better than I would, but he was always going to end up being the guy. And he was. And then he came to Denver. It was obvious that Joe Flacco is not a long-term guy, despite what, the Broncos PR spinning it and saying, Joe Flacco's in his prime. Obviously not. Not the answer there, especially a statue quarterback in a league where quarterbacks need to be able to move off the spot. Joe Flacco's probably the worst at that in the league. So not for long. And then last year, your options for Drew Lock competition were Jeff Driscoll and Brett Rippon. So God bless. That's not a competition. So now actually Drew Lock has to go out there and earn not only his spot, but his reps. So I think that's good. And hopefully it'll be it'll bring the best out of Drew Lock. And if it doesn't, that is something that you take away from that, right? Like Drew Lock, when he was pushed, he went down. He didn't push back. So that's good. We want these guys. Iron sharpens iron, right? And they're going to need to earn it.
When Jeff Driscoll came out, the top two quarterbacks coming out of high school were Braxton Miller of Ohio State and Jeff Driscoll of coming out. And Jeff Driscoll was a right-handed Tim Tebow, and I thought he would be just phenomenal in the Urban Meyer offense. And then Urban Meyer goes to Ohio State, and Braxton Miller plays for him. So go figure.
Yeah. Oh, man. Sometimes the recruiting ranks. I love Urban Meyer drafting only 5 stars. The whole draft, I was like, okay, who was the 5-star? There's my board. Also, did you see that Jacksonville had Jalen Waddle with the same grade as Trevor Lawrence on their board?
Well, if you look at it, and I had this discussion with somebody when we were talking about, how to rank guys. If we put a numerical grade next to players 1 through 99, yeah, I might have someone a 99. Jalen Waddle might be a 99 receiver, and Trevor Lawrence might be a 97 quarterback. I'm still taking Trevor Lawrence first, just because of the positional value there. And Chad asked Watson or Rodgers, if Watson is cleared, who do you take? If I'm just looking at age and football player, that's an easy answer for me. I've got a 3-time Pro Bowler who's going to play for my team for the next 12 to 15 years. I take Deshaun Watson every day. Yeah. Simple.
Yeah. I mean, Deshaun Watson, he's, 24 years old, 25 years old? You're talking about 10 to 15 years of a Super Bowl window, where Rodgers, you probably have 3 to 5 years, maybe 6, but I think 3 to 5 years. That's a big difference maker. And, once you have that quarterback's position set with a franchise guy that young, you have year after year to re-roll the dice, reshuffle the deck, and see how it works, rather than the limited window where you have Rodgers. Still, you are actually in a window if you bring in Rodgers, which is something the Broncos haven't been in since 2015. So you take that if you can get it. But in a vacuum, if Watson didn't have the all the stuff going on, he'd be the guy who you'd rather have, because you're just talking about year after year, the security there, having that quarterback position set. I mean, I said this back when Watson was a viable option. He's nuclear right now, as somebody else said. That's one that I've said as well. He's probably put him in a box, and we'll talk again next year. But think about all the way back 15 years. That's how long you'd hopefully have Deshaun Watson as a franchise quarterback for your team. That takes you all the way back to when Jake Plummer was the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. Think about how much has changed in the world over that time. Think about how many quarterbacks and situations have changed for the Broncos over 15 years. Now imagine having a franchise to elite quarterback for that time, just having it set. That's what you want. So in a vacuum, take Watson. But
I'd be real interested for people who have more time than me to try and find a better season at quarterback for a bad team. Almost 5,000 yards passing, 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, 70% completion rate on a team that went 4-12. That's insane. I mean, and that's just like, how on earth do you go 4-12 with efficiency in the passing game that's that good? Well, let's go look at the defense, and that's everything. But yeah, 3-time Pro. He's made 3 straight Pro Bowls. He's 25 years old. That's an easy one. That's an easy one. Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I think Deshaun Watson. It's crazy because quarterbacks really do matter, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see just how bad that Texans team is this season without him. I think Vegas has him at 2.5 wins, which in a 17-game season, that's honestly impressive. I'm not even mad. But probably last comment.
What do they do to get better? They only won 4 last year, and they're going to lose a Pro Bowl quarterback. I mean, just through maybe a ball falls this way or that way, and it was a couple of close wins, and who doesn't show up in 17? But how do they get better?
Yeah. And we have Chad coming in here saying, haven't we seen enough of Teddy? Give Locke at least half the season to see what he's made of. Well, Chad, I think in big picture, that would make sense. But this is a team where a lot of guys are on the precipice of being on the hot seat if they aren't already. So in a vacuum, maybe you could see that being the way to go because you don't know what you have in Drew Lock. And either he ends up being the guy or flames out. At least you'd know. But you have coaching staff, players. I mean, it's good to think big picture like that, but a lot of those guys, especially the coaches, aren't thinking that way. They're thinking we got to win right now. And if not, we're going to be out of a job. So you're going to see Teddy if they think that they're going to give him a better chance to win this season. This roster, outside of the question at quarterback, is set up to win right now. So that's going to be what it is.
And I'm going to answer that with a short statement. Nothing's going to be given.
Yep.
Nothing. It's going to be earned.
Now that's a good comment. We got SD Joe Hamilton coming in here. A serious question. At what point do we start talking about Rodgers, Watson, and roll with what we have? I have 2 comments here. One, when either those guys are not moved or are moved, or I guess 3 comments. 2, when the season starts, or 3, when the Broncos actually have a viable quarterback. You're not talking about adding Rodgers or Watson or whatnot if the league perception is you have a good quarterback. And right now the Broncos' perception at quarterback is they're bad. I mean, Pro Football Focus had them ranked as the 32nd out of 32 quarterback rankings in the NFL. So until then, the Broncos are going to be linked with these quarterbacks. It just is what it is. I mean, look at just across the way. We don't really know exactly what Justin Herbert is just yet, but you're not hearing the Chargers being linked with all these guys because the league perception is Justin Herbert is an ascending superstar. That's not the perception of Drew Lock. Now, he could change that this year. Obviously, things change. But right now, the perception of the Broncos across the league is they don't have a quarterback. And until they do, they're going to be linked with these guys. And
we can stop talking about Deshaun Watson as a viable option right now.
Yeah.
Right now. But if we do hypotheticals, we can have fun and talk about what would this guy do for this team and just do hypotheticals or fantasy or anything like that. But that's all it is. Hypotheticals. Rodgers, as Nick said, we'll stop talking about him once his situation is settled. Because until that point, he is a viable option for the Denver Broncos, and that makes him newsworthy and something that we can talk about more often. But as far as Deshaun Watson goes, as a viable option, we can stop talking about him right now.
Yeah, and also we can stop talking about it once the chat stops asking about it, right? Like that's you guys dictate the chat, which makes this so fun. We love doing this with you guys for that reason. But that's going to have to do it today for this episode of Broncos for Breakfast. We appreciate all you guys joining us. We'll be back again on Thursday at 8:00 Mountain Time. You guys set your clock for then, set your alerts on YouTube. We'll be back. We'll talk some more Broncos OTAs, and maybe we'll have a Julio trade by then. I don't know. Maybe we'll call up Julio this time. I'll talk to my boy Shannon to give me Julio's number, and we'll have Julio talk to you.
There's no way he knew he was on live TV. No way. I've seen this guy since he was 15 years old, and he has never said anything that has ever gotten any attention.
Really?
Ever.
Yeah, you're right. He has always just been a quiet assassin.
Ever. He's never said anything that's gotten any attention in his entire career, and he has been under the microscope since he was 15. There's no way he knew.
Man. That's a bad look, Shannon. I love Shannon, but it's not good. Good TV, but not maybe the most.
Skip loved it. Shannon might not because it's his ass on the line now.
Yeah.
He might have a little more trouble getting people to answer as well.
Oh, man. Well, that's not what you want. But Broncos for Breakfast, guys, we got to get on out of here. Follow us at Huddle Up Pod. Also follow us at Mile High Huddle. Also, guys, do us a big favor and follow both of us on Twitter at Nick Kendell, MHH for myself, and at Scout Kennedy for Scott. Guys, if you are joining us on YouTube today, please help us subscribe, like, and share. Also, if you're joining us on Facebook, please click those thumbs up. Guys, you could also do us a heck of a lot of good if you follow Scott's. Oh, there it is. I found it. See, we need Buana, but sometimes I can do it too. YouTube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. I'm also going to drop Scott's comments or his YouTube subscription on the chat here. So if you guys just click that link, it'll take you to the page and you can subscribe to Scott's channel. Scott, do you have anything going on there? You still running through the best of?
Doing some of that. I actually want to talk some Julio, and I might be doing a little Champions League. And my favorite player, Willian, was linked back with Chelsea today. So I might talk a little national football today, just because you want to see me get angry quick. Let's get started talking about Willian Borges da Silva. But before we go, wanted to say thank you to our supers and our stickers. Muhammad, Kyle, Sykes, Karaoke Chris, Swink McLeod. I don't think I missed anybody. If I did, hit me up on Twitter because we certainly appreciate you coming in and helping support this show.
Yeah, guys, we really do appreciate that. And also appreciate the comments on here. Broncos for Brunch is a great show. Excellent pod. Thanks, guys, for Karaoke Chris. Victor, got to get here earlier, man. We're on at 8 o'clock Mountain. EJ saying great show, guys. Smash the like button. And Dylan Von Arks coming in saying great conversation as always. Make sure to hit the like button on the way out. A little goes a long way. And whether that be, not everybody can donate super chats. We understand that. Obviously, we do appreciate that. And the boss man above us notices that as well. But if you can't do that, a like goes a long way. And so does a like, subscribe, and share on YouTube. So, guys, we're going to get on out of here. We'll see you again on Thursday for another episode of Broncos for Breakfast. But until then, stay safe. Love y'all. Go Broncos.